Love you too. Students, families, friends, teachers, faculty, and in all likelihood, streaker in the bushes behind me, waiting for the opportune moment. Good afternoon, and with the exception of the streaker, thank you all for coming. I rarely have the attention of a single person, let alone over 1,000, and so I promise I will get to the meaningful stuff as quickly as possible. But before I do, I would like to pay a brief tribute to my family, to my mother and father and 2 younger twin brothers, who I will be leaving soon. Mom, I'll miss your wonderful home-cooked meals and our random nights watching film classics like Little Miss Sunshine and Legally Blonde. Dad, I'll miss our exciting, if ill-advised, backyard projects and our intense political debates that I invariably win. Ben and Mason, I'll probably miss your high school graduation. I'd also like to thank Larry Page and Sergey Brin, inventors of Google, Jimmy Wales and Larry Sanger, inventors of Wikipedia, Carl Linnaeus, the father of modern taxonomy, but more importantly, inventor of the 3x5 note card, Sam Yegan, Max Krohn, Chris Coyne, and Eli Bulletin, inventors of SparkNotes, and most importantly, someone you've never heard of, Larry Tesler, who invented the copy and paste function. You have truly revolutionized the sacred arts of plagiarism and procrastination. And without you all, I and most of my fellow graduates would not be here today. Those thanks being said, class of 2012, I turn to you. It was Albert Einstein himself, who I think we can all agree was a pretty intelligent guy, who said, "We are all geniuses, but if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it will spend its life thinking it's an idiot." Now, I've set myself a rather lofty goal for this afternoon. In the next 4 minutes or so, I hope to encourage you to question the value of your last 4 years of education. Because the truth is that throughout our high school careers, from the CST to the CASE, to the SAT, to the ACT, to our A through G requirements and so on, we have all been asked to climb the same exact tree, regardless of our individual interests and talents. And perhaps the root of the problem is a misunderstanding of what it means to be equal, and a consequent disregard for uniqueness among individuals. Because while we are all equal, we are not identical, and we don't deserve to be treated as though we are. During my time here at Monterey High, I have met people with every sort of talent imaginable. Painters and photographers, future doctors and nurses, future translators, fashion designers, computer programmers, soldiers, musicians, athletes who can run or swim faster than my mother drives. Yet in the last 4 years, we have witnessed a steady series of cuts in vocational classes, arts, and athletics, as we blindly pursue policies like No Child Left Behind that demand we all sacrifice our most personal ambitions and raise to the top of the same identical tree. Each and every one of us has some activity that we truly love, something that comes naturally to us. Education should help us pursue these passions rather than provide us with a uniform set of material to learn while our real dreams are put on hold. Sure, we should all be able to read and write and do some Mesa math. But a dancer does not need to know calculus. Just as an engineer does not need to have read The Taming of the Shrew. Just as an English teacher does not need to know the steps of the Krebs cycle. Just as a biologist should not be forced to study tonal harmony or the inner workings of a carburetor. Nothing should take precedence over what we love most. Unless, you have mind coordination and you love dancing, because realistically, that's just a bad move. so long as you put your greatest possible effort into what you do, whether it is law or teaching, construction or agriculture, accounting or banking, journalism or poetry, there is no such thing as a misplaced passion. And perhaps the greatest part about living in a world with 7 billion people is that there is almost certainly someone out there willing to pay you to do what you love. I have had some incredible, inspiring teachers at Monterey High, but I may have learned the most from a handful of students who unknowingly and unintentionally helped me to realize that schooling and genuine education are not necessarily the same thing. I won't mention any names, but among those people are an incredible singer-songwriter who I have been blessed to write and record and perform with and learn from. A dropout and mechanical prodigy who fixed my car in the school parking lot last year, likely saving me several $1,000s and surely saving me from the terrible wrath of my mother. A graduate from a few years ago who has single-handedly taught me more practical skills from construction to plumbing to sewing to gutting fish than any other person. An actress whose performances are worthy of any professional stage. An artist who nearly failed a certain math class because she was too busy doodling, and who is now selling these same doodles for hundreds of dollars a piece. And a young man who dropped out of high school in order to get a head start as an electrician. By nature, people want to learn, but when we are forced to learn about things that have no relevance to our interests, it will only discourage us from learning at all. Please understand that I am by no means being critical of the teachers and staff of Monterey High School. The shortcomings of our educational system are not a result of hardworking teachers who want to pass on their knowledge and enthusiasm to young adults who share similar curiosities, but instead are forced to teach to a standardized test. Nor are these shortcomings the result of our administrators, trying desperately to create an atmosphere conducive to learning and experimentation while running into roadblocks and regulations every step of the way. And they are certainly not the fault of Mrs. Plummer, who has done so much more behind the scenes than she is given credit for to create new art classes and advanced placement classes and other opportunities at Monterey High School. These shortcomings are a consequence of our misguided belief that students with diverse talents and passions are somehow best served by receiving identical educations and being judged by how well they climb the same arbitrary tree. Many of you will continue your education next year. Others of you will continue to attend school. A community college will cost you many thousands of dollars, and a four-year university may cost you around $250,000, not to mention years of irreplaceable time. Let's hope that you invest wisely, and that you are climbing that tree not to satisfy the expectations of your parents or society, but because you will gain something of real value to your life that you could not have gained elsewhere. We are accustomed to granting the student who earns the highest grades the privilege of speaking before his or her graduating class. But why don't we reserve this honor for the kindest student, or the bravest student, or the funniest student, or perhaps for the student who is most creative? Why don't we select the most worldly student to speak? For that matter, why don't we select the most attractive student? Although coincidentally, I happen to have been particularly successful at climbing one particular tree. But I am neither an actor nor an artist. I don't know how to repair a car or a telephone cable. And to be honest, I'm not even sure I remember the Krebs cycle. I appreciate this honor, but I believe that each and every one of us deserves to be honored for our own individual merits. Class of 2012, let us define one another, not by what we have in common, but by what makes each and every one of us unique. Let us treat one another equally, but never identically. Let us pursue our passions today rather than save them for some later date while we fill our minds with irrelevant information that we will never use and quickly forget. And most importantly, let us never climb a tree simply because we were instructed to do so. If you are a gazelle, you are meant to run. If you are the seagull, you are meant to fly. If you are that fish, you are meant to swim. And if you are holding the Nelly, you are meant to contract mono. So unless you are an ape, do not waste your time trying to climb a tree. Thank you all. Thank you, Collin.